humans are programmed through repeated actions. Whatever we do repeatedly, we do more often. So just recently, I told you this, but I found this new coffee shop in my town, and I went once, and then because I went that day, I went the next day, and then I went the next day, and then suddenly I'm in this pattern of just going to the coffee shop to work every day. Whereas normally I would stay home, but it's only through repeating that action that I reinforced it. And it's something simple like that because our system is built for survival, we're constantly conserving energy and kind of running programs on automatic so that we don't need to constantly be expending energy thinking about them every time. So the way to reinforce the behavior of your character is to decide ahead of time, and again, this isn't a rule book, it's just a thought experiment. What actions would your character demonstrate their principles through? And just think about that. Again, just an experiment, not a rule book, because in the moment you might decide a different action's necessary, and that's good. That'll be our first question. So when we break to do the exercise, you can come up with, I would say 5, just in general, the actions that come to the top of your mind. Maybe Daniel, for you, like the interaction with the strength coach. Think about what action would my updated version of my character do in that situation. So try for 5 of those if you can. The other one is we constantly are reinforcing our character through our words. So the words and language that we're using is, I think I've said this before in like Deep Game or something, but our words are like the glue that holds our reality together. And there's this old like Alicia Keys story where she used to say, that's just my luck, or with my luck, this'll happen all the time. And she was like, finally, my partner at the time just said, if you don't want it to keep happening, why do you keep on asking for it? Like, with my luck, that'll happen. And so she's constantly reinforcing this pattern. It's the same as the story I told where like I kept telling my mom that I was bad at math because I wanted forgiveness for my poor grades when really I was just skipping to go play basketball. And suddenly I'm sitting down in math class and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm terrible at this. I'm bad with numbers. I like programmed this completely false belief into my mind. I was in enrichment math in grade school. Like, it's fundamentally incorrect. So as another thought experiment, think about things that you repeatedly say that reinforce negative behavior that you want to correct. So this could be things you've recently said or things that you repeatedly say, phrases, words, etc. And the final one is we reinforce our character through where we place our attention. So on a sort of chi level, energy follows attention. So we're feeding energy into whatever we're putting our attention on. That's why dissolving happens. When there's a blockage in our, let's say, solar plexus, we put our attention on it and it starts to change. It's because we're feeding energy into that blockage, like running water through a hose so that the pressure forces it through. So again, on a chi level, energy follows attention, which means whatever you put your attention on, you're going to feed energy to. And if you're focused and fixated on those sort of negative aspects of yourself that you don't want to change, and you're focusing on them as negative things, you're actually reinforcing them and making them much more likely to reoccur, which is why we did the reframing and seeing them in a positive way, because now when you focus on them in that way, you're feeding energy into something that you actually want to become. Does that make sense? So a phrase to use for this is focus positive. Don't feed energy with your attention into realities that you don't want to continue living. This could be as simple as the other day. It was raining. I was over at my mom's house. It's raining. And I just, like, it was just this really beautiful, quiet, rainy day. And I was in the kitchen like, wow, it's so nice out. And my mom like looked around. She's like, what are you talking about? It's raining. But to me, it was such a like beautiful thing. We were experiencing the same world, but a totally different reality because of how we were focused on it. There was a woman I was working with in a retreat at one point, like I think about a year ago, and she was going through a really tough time, like family issues and a whole bunch of stuff. And she was actually out at the fire outside, like outside of the meditation room. And she's sitting there and her head's down and she's crying. And she's a really, really good friend of mine for many years. We're very, very close. And it like hurt to see her in this state. And I went up and I gave her a hug. And then I kind of like tapped her on the shoulder and went like this. And she looks up and there's just this like brilliant display of stars, like not a cloud in the sky, middle of the night. And immediately her tears like burst into laughter. And it's that like movement of where you're focused on that completely changes the way that you see your reality. So again, we're reinforcing our reality by what we're focused on. So focus positive. Does that make sense with everybody? The question that always comes up is, what if there's a problem that you want to fix? How does ignoring it fix it? That's a misunderstanding. Focusing on a problem you want to fix, or let's say scolding somebody for bad behavior, or scolding yourself for bad behavior, is reinforcing the bad behavior. Unless it's reframed with a positive instruction, it's not useful. So if I say to you, like, man, stop missing shots, is that useful? It's like, I want you to stop missing shots, so stop. Like, what's that going to do, right? If I say, hey, I noticed your elbow is like a little out to the left, like try tucking your elbow in, much more useful. So use that same frame with yourself. It's like, cut the negative reinforcement and reframe positively. Hey, it's Taylor. I hope you enjoyed today's talk. And if you did, the best thing to do right now while it's fresh in your mind is head over to deepgame.com and join us in our free masterclass, where you'll learn all of the fundamental principles of the part of basketball that's played with the mind. We've had players call this the best hour of basketball learning of their lives, and it's completely free right now. So head over to deepgame.com, join us. Once again, it's totally free, and I will see you there.